Good evening. This is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note this meeting is being recorded and some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that folks may be able to see you. Anything you decide to share or anything you intend or not to share on your screen, on your computer, anything that you broadcast will be captured and recorded. This is Tom Sanford, Chair of the Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Here.
Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
Timothy Wheeler.
Here.
Tom Sanford here. I don't know, we'll probably have some anticipated speakers, but I'll call them when we get to their part on the agenda. With a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting to order at 7:36 p.m. Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. This is an open meeting of the planning board being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Mass due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. The governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting laws to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the planning board is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join in this meeting. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I'll invite each board member by name to provide comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights till your name is called. Board members and speakers, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. For any response, please wait until you are yielded the floor and state your name before speaking. If board members wish to engage in conversation with one another, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations happening at the same time. Lastly, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. So, meeting is open. We have a bill that we need to pay for Haley and Ward, and it's for the work that they did up on Highland. They actually came in about just a couple $100 less than what they estimated. So it's pretty good. So we had already voted that to engage them for their services, and they came under budget. So they're looking for $3,450. So I will entertain motions to pay this bill out of the money we received for consultants fees for the Highland, the bomb property.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion to paying Haley and Wood? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote by roll call vote. Jay Teach.
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler.
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald.
Aye.
And Tom Sanford. Aye. Thank you. I will make sure that this gets done and paid. That's all I have. There's some other notices and hearings and stuff for other towns, but there's nothing earth-shattering or anything that we need to take action on. So
I've found my way into the planning board mailbox. I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah,
but there is one.
there is.
It's got less than 2,000
Emails
items in it. I think it's 1982 items. What, I'm just kind of curious, what are we doing? There's like a couple of them, people were asking about our sign policies at the Highland Common. There were some questions that weren't in the bylaw because I looked in the overlay section, which I was going to send them. There's just a whole bunch of random stuff like that. What should I be doing with that?
Ask them to call me for an appointment for the planet for to get on the agenda. If you think it's not something that's trivial or
Yeah.
But
If
yeah,
it's
something like
a-
a
if
sign or
it's a
something,
simple
especially if it doesn't
ques-
have any, if it doesn't have anything in the bylaw, then we definitely need to weigh in on that.
I guess that's right. So one question was from the broker that's trying to sell the Flat Penny or whatever it was last time, restaurant. You want to know if there is a full liquor license available in the town currently.
Why wouldn't the select people be able to answer that?
They're the ones that would
Should
Should I
issue that.
send- rather than answer it, should I just send it to them? I can do that. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other stuff, the other current stuff was about the Highland Road bomb property, which I think they also copied you and you responded, Tom, so I didn't, I just left that.
Yeah, that was the Mitchells.
Yep.
Yep. They had emailed me personally, and I responded.
Okay, and I posted all those drawings too, so we can get them.
Yeah,
Good.
but that's typically what we will ask if somebody has, you know, sent a general email, then unless it's something really simple,
Yeah,
come and talk to us.
okay.
That's the best bet.
All right, so who proposes approving the minutes?
Proposes what? I didn't hear you.
Who's
He's
supposed to make
looking for a
about
motion.
approving the minutes? Because we got 4, I sent you copies of 5 minutes. 4 were PDFs because I felt like they were done unless there was any mistakes. And one of them was a Word file because I think I had something in yellow there I had a question about. But the 4 that are PDFs, if you guys read them, we could approve them. So I'm trying to chip away at the missing ones for the year. Did anybody read them?
Not yet.
Do you want to wait and approve them next week? Or 2 weeks
Yes.
from
I'll make sure I read it.
We'll
Read 'em.
read them. I promise.
What date did you send them?
now? A couple
Sunday?
days ago. Sunday, I think was
Friday?
the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago.
I assume if he took 3 or 4 hours to write each one, it's going to take at least that long to read them.
That's probably true.
So
There's one little tiny mistake in each one that you have to find.
I need rain
Where's
so I
Waldo?
can stay indoors.
Yep.
Uh,
no
I
problem.
didn't. Truthfully, I didn't see them. If you sent them on Sunday, I didn't see them.
It was 5 files attached to an email.
I'll
I
look.
sent you a bunch of emails, so they may have gotten lost in the middle.
All right.
I can send them again if you want.
I'll look, and if I don't have them, I'll email you.
Okay.
Did Jay? Did you contact Anna Crane?
She's here.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, because she should be up in a few minutes.
Okay.
Is there any other items that we want to discuss or hit before we move on? Or I feel we should wait until the time it was posted in case somebody was logging on.
It was at 7:45.
Yep. No, nothing.
No, I'm trying to think. Not much.
The our village center project with CMPRC, which kind of went to sleep for a year because it's really hard to do that. Not live. And it's coming out of hibernation. I guess, Tim, you were talking to Carrie about getting it extended. Is that right?
I spoke with Trish Settles, who manages that part of the commission. And I said, it appeared from some of the exchanges between Carrie and Margaret that they were moving towards some sort of conclusion. And I thought it was premature to assume that we were close to closing this down, and that
Yeah.
I would like them to ask for an extension if that's possible, because I think it was supposed to be terminated in June initially.
Oh,
And Trish said, yeah, they'd have some conversation about that and go to the state and ask for an extension. And I also said that, not speaking for the board, but I'd be willing to go to the planning board and ask if we might expend some master plan money on this project, since it's integrated into the economic development and traffic and all those pertinent issues that relate to master plans. So I said, if there's some reason we can't get an extension, tell us. Don't try to put this to bed, and maybe we can come up with some extra funding that would allow us to do some of the additional meetings, the forum, the smaller focus groups, and then get this a more robust presentation. So
great.
because we do have some master plan money that we're going to have to redo the housing production plan for the spring of next year. So I think at the end of the summer, we need to be prepared to engage somebody to work with us through the fall and into the winter to finalize a new plan production plan for, I think it's March or April next year. And that money can come from Eloise's, housing partnership funds, because that's where that's the funds we've utilized before. But so that money is, we don't have to hit master plan money for that. We can get that from that other source. And the open space plan is up to date, so we don't have to worry about that one. So actually spending a little more on Center Village study, if it was necessary, wouldn't probably be a bad idea.
We're trying to get the group together on, I think it's the 23rd of June, to try to see what Carrie's done so far and keep it moving.
Speaking of housing, were we satisfied with Karen, or do we want to poke around and see if you want me to see if Central Mass knows if there's anybody else that does housing plans? Or were we happy with her?
Would it hurt to get another proposal?
I don't think so. We could.
The work she did was good.
Yeah.
It was accurate.
Community Opportunities Group did the first one with Judy Barrett, so they may have staff that would be willing to give us a proposal. We could say it's time for us to update our plan. So I'll ask Central Mass if they know of anybody else that's out there, and maybe we could put a little proposal together and ship it out to a couple people and get them so they could do something for us starting in September, maybe.
Okay. At this time, can you do me a favor, Carolyn? Can you elevate Anna?
Indeed, I can.
Thank you. Great. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good, thank you. So you're on the agenda. You came to talk to us about what?
Yeah.
We're supposed to
I came
renew.
to get, yeah.
We're supposed to renew our appointment of her as the ambassador from the planning board to the Capital Planning Committee. In fact, she's chairman of the Capital Planning Committee right now.
It's for the chair position?
Well, it's to be our appointee, and they elected her chair because she's the best.
Oh.
Nice.
Or I've been there since the beginning. I'm the only one left.
That too.
Oh, that doesn't sound too enticing, though. You tell it like that.
I am the
else-
most experienced.
Who else is on
There
it
you
now?
go.
It's me and Eloise, and John. I can't remember John's last name, but not John Solera, who was on it before. A different
Right.
John.
Huh.
Yep, and that's it. There should be 5 of us. So if you guys have any influence with friends or family who want to join, that'd be great.
Who are the other appointing entities?
The moderator, the Board of Selectmen, and somebody else I can't think of. You guys, the Board of Selectmen have 2, moderator.
Does finance appoint somebody or,
Oh, FinCom has a representative. So we have Janet Lamy as the FinCom representative, but she is non-voting.
so that's in addition to the 5?
Correct.
And so the moderator needs to appoint somebody?
The moderator and whoever the other person is that I have forgotten who they're supposed to appoint or who's supposed to appoint them. Because the select board, John and Eloise are the 2 select board candidates.
These are capital planning, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Eloise has her hand up.
Can you promote her, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Isn't that John Janez? Janez?
Yes, that is John's last name. Thank you, Eloise.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eloise.
We knew she'd know.
She knows
Eloise-
everything.
Eloise, who else appoints?
Oh, did she leave?
Oh, no, she's here.
Okay.
She's raised her hand again. Tom, I think she wants you to recognize her.
Oh, all right. What do I do to recognize?
This Eloise,
Just speak.
Oh, okay. I thought my little thing said, I wasn't recognized yet.
Oh, sorry.
Just the planning board, the moderator, and the selectmen. I think the selectmen have 2.
Yeah.
Moderator has 1, planning board has 1, and 1 from finance committee.
So that,
No number.
So the finance committee appoints an individual that isn't on the finance committee and then sends a rep?
No, they can delegate it, but right now they've always had somebody from the committee on there just as a go-between so that we're not, out being radical, putting in a helicopter pad, etc.
oh, that was my plan for next year.
I was gonna say, what's wrong with that?
And,
Community.
We need
Yeah.
we need a
and
controversial-
Margaret
meeting.
attends all the meetings too.
So I'm still trying to figure out who is negligent in appointing the needed member besides the moderator.
Yeah,
The selectmen were down 1. And the planning board, that's why Anna is here tonight. Just a minute, I shall look it up in my town report, sir. I'll get back to you. Carry on.
in the meantime, do you want a motion?
Sure.
Or I make a
Do you want
motion?
Anna to tell what she's done for the past year? How about that?
How many
Sure.
times do we meet?
And that be in the discussion section.
Or we can hook her in before she runs.
right. I've now done this since 2017, and maybe there's somebody else who needs me.
What? I'm
Well-
listening for motion.
Oh, I make a motion that we reappoint Anna Crane to Capital Planning Committee for as long as she will. As long as she wants.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just a big thank you.
Yeah, big thank you.
Happy to
Not
do
kicking and screaming, so I'm assuming you don't oppose.
Right.
it. I showed up for the meeting, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no other discussion items or nobody has any questions, I'll ask you to vote on this appointment. Jay Teach,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford. Aye. Congratulations. Man, you're
Yay.
Thank you.
re-elected.
Woo.
Condolences or congratulations, I don't know which.
Yeah.
No, seriously, we appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Happy to have some influence.
It's fleeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels glorious for a brief moment and then it
Yeah.
gets overrun. So it's okay.
One thing that Anna mentioned that I think we should all just be aware of is that sometimes at the last minute, things that should be part of the capital plan and overseen by the capital planning committee, they show up late and aren't part of the package, right?
Mm-hmm. So we
So
had
that's,
we had 5 items on this year's warrant that should have gone to capital planning for review and approval prior to being approved by the select board to be put in the warrant. And those items were not brought to capital planning. We did meet and attempt to discuss them after creating our budget and our proposal for the year. And we did mostly approve those items, but they officially escaped review, even though we did unofficially review them.
So,
That's unfortunate. So you need teeth behind you guys?
Yeah, we have no teeth. We're an advisory committee.
well, maybe just awareness, right? Maybe that not everyone understands what does and does not need to go to the committee.
Has this happened
Yeah.
for any one of those groups before? Is this a habit?
No, it is not. Well, it has happened before. None of those groups has it happened
Okay.
before. And it's never happened in this number. This year was 5, and I would say most years it's 1. If that. So it's not been a common occurrence. And it is, I mean, Margaret had one of the items, so she should have been fully aware. So I think in general, it was probably just a thought processing error. But it did happen a lot this year.
Okay.
so in years past, you have been invited to comment?
Yes, to most extents. Somehow they don't get those items that go into the warrant without review don't get pulled out of the warrant and put into the capital budget like they should, and then re-presented within the warrant as part of the capital budget. So they remain singular items within the warrant. But yes, in the past we've done what we did this year, which was look at the warrant and go, hey, wait, we should talk about that. And then talk about it and present our opinion upon it. But nobody comes to us and says, hey, we found something in the warrant that you guys should review.
Okay. Well, maybe we can make a little noise.
That'd be great.
Super. Okay. Is there anything else you need from us?
No, I'm good, I think.
Cool. Great.
Did Eloise find out anything about who's who?
I don't know. Her hand is up. Eloise?
I have capital planning, appointment by moderator, 1, appointment by planning board, 1, appointment by selectmen, 2, and then the Appointment Finance Committee ex officio. So there are your 5.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 voting members.
Yeah, but you can't,
Okay.
you never get 4 people, voting members in the room at the same time. So
Yeah.
an odd number of votes, it's not an issue.
Yep.
So you're missing one from the selectman and one from the moderator evidently.
No, we're missing one from the moderator. So we have John Jenez
Yeah,
and Eloise,
Okay,
assuming they both continue.
so it's just the moderator.
It's just the moderator.
Okay. Good.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks,
we're gonna
Anna.
move on.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks. I'm gonna leave now.
John Aney in the audience,
He certainly is.
can you promote him to
I
speaker,
can.
please?
There he is.
Good
Yes.
evening, how are you?
Good enough.
Good enough? It's a Tuesday, that's why.
He's still at work, that's why.
Let's see.
How are you guys?
Good,
Good enough.
Good enough, yeah.
yeah. So we are here to discuss something that came by our desk about a parking lot that's at one of the sites that you guys control. Somewhat control.
Yeah.
We've been asked to contemplate another entrance into the parking lot. The condition is a little dangerous. Depends on what time of day, I guess. So I guess what I would like to have your input as Concom guys to let us know whether you think it's a good idea, whether you're fundamentally opposed to it, or what we should do about seeing if we can rectify the situation.
How much background do you want?
We have a half an hour, so as much as you'd like to do.
I'd like to know the location.
All right,
Then it's-
let me screen share. Oops, wait a minute. I gotta get the right.
Yeah, don't share that screen.
Well, it's work. I can't. That would be a
Laws.
bad.
That would be a bad thing, yes.
All right, so let me try this again.
Anybody know the address of the property we're talking about?
Yeah, it's here it is. So this is Linden Street. And I'm gonna back this out a little bit to give you some perspective. So there's Linden Street, and there's I think this is Derby, that's Barnes. Down here is Pisgah. Okay. So and this belongs to Terrians right here. Now, way back a long time ago. Oh, thanks, Stacy. Yeah, see you Thursday. You know, a conservation restriction was put in place for this period, this land here, and there's an easement that allows trail access to Pisgah. You can see the little easement there, and then this is town land, it's Pisgah. And so this goes over private property, but there's a trail easement. And then the town owns this land right here. Right there. And that's a parking lot of sorts. What it really is a field. And you wouldn't, you know, the way it had been, you wouldn't know that this land was separate from this land because it's all one big field. And this is Linden, and there's along this red line here, there's a stone wall and some trees and brush. And so approximately right here where my pointer is, there's a break in the stone wall. And, you know, there had been a little sign, and people would pull in, park here, and then use the trail easement, which is mowed, to get down to the Pisgah Conservation Area. Every once in a while, somebody would take it to mind to drive over this field and just keep driving.
Hmm.
Apparently someone drove all the way down here a couple years ago, which was distressing to the property owners of this place. And, you know, they had asked about trying to get some demarcation. So we thought, oh, that makes sense. Let's just put in some barriers. And somebody came up with the idea of just using posts, you know, like old telephone posts. You plant them in there, make some cross tees, and demarcating this area here as the parking area. Well, there was a snag with the implementation, the details of which I will not go into. And what happened instead is that tiny little corner of this area was demarcated, like sort of roughly like that, roughly the quarter of the size, including a slant as it goes in from this break in the parking area. And this was concerning to several members on the Conservation Commission, and I went out and checked it out. And it's a very tight little parking spot now. And it occurred to me while I was out there that if two cars pulled in and a third one pulled in, not only would it park in those two other cars, but it wouldn't be able to turn around. It would have to back out this spot. Now, this is a downhill around the curves area. And if you drive down Linden Street, and I coincidentally did this just a few days ago, I guess the end of last week, you'll see that you can come across, it's pretty easy to come across this area at speed and not realize that somebody's pulling out of this area. And if they're doing so with their rear end, they're likely to get clipped. It seemed to me and to others that have looked at it to be a traffic hazard. So that brought in my concern to Margaret Nardowitz, who then asked the chief of police to go down there, take a look at it. Not only did he agree it was a traffic hazard, but he thought that the whole thing was a conniption, and that the best option would be to have, people pull in one way and out the other. So to have two breaks in the stone wall instead of one, but then any additional break in the stone wall would require permission of the planning board because it's a scenic area. So the reason I was asked to go before you guys is that I would need permission to have a second break in the stone wall to have this reconfigured pattern of where people pull in one side and exit the other. The initial concept, what I'd like to do is eventually to have all these posts torn up and then replanted to give a larger parking area. It doesn't have to be necessarily the whole area, but certainly bigger so that people can pull in, turn around and park and not be on top of each other. But then, as a chief of police, I was very grateful that he was willing to go down there, but that came in with the idea we should really have an entrance and an exit of some sort, but that does require tearing up stone wall, which is scenic. So that is why I'm here in front of you tonight. Are there questions?
Well, it seems like a reasonable request. Does conservation have a fundamental problem with doing what the chief has suggested?
Not even vaguely.
Okay.
No, it's just that we have jurisdiction over stone
Stone
walls. Remember, we had a
stone walls,
discussion about that a couple of years ago. Tim was trying to palm it off on somebody else, but we weren't successful in doing that.
Yeah, the Scenic Roads Act, which involves all roads in town but 62 and 495, requires a public hearing held by the planning board with the highway superintendent for every occasion when a stone wall or a shade tree is disturbed. And what we tried to do was find a way when the selectmen are asked to approve a curb cut, that they would be assigned the duty of holding that hearing for the Scenic Roads Act. And the town council said, no, you can't get out of that obligation on the part of the planning board. So what we have to do is hold the public hearing, which we just have to post it and hold it. And we did it for, that curb cut there on Lyman back last year or so. So, usually you know, a lot of occasions, people aren't disturbing a stone wall or a shade tree for a curb cut, so. But when they do, there's supposed to be participation by the planning board. It looks to me like you've got 9,000 square feet, and what you're suggesting is that less than half of that probably is available for parking.
Much less. No, this was a minor problem that turned into a major problem.
So the highway department put the post in?
Yeah, yeah. I don't really want to get into all the details.
Well, I mean,
Right. It
But-
seems like there was some miscommunication as to where they should really go.
right.
And they were put in a place that is not really
User friendly.
user-friendly. Exactly. So we're
We-
trying to work it out.
You're working on that resolution. So
Yep.
would it be appropriate to look at a potential second curb cut before you find a means to expand the site for parking, or are we going to create another hazard? I mean, is the ideal location for the second curb cut outside of what's already provided for parking?
Well, before I answer that question, Carolyn, may I ask you, please, is there still going to be a turnover in July? Is that still planned?
A turnover,
Highway,
Yes,
as far as I know, yeah.
that's still happening?
Yeah.
So I guess, Tim, the next step would be what I don't know who to even ask. I'll make it Carolyn's problem, but
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
hey,
But,
delegation.
yeah,
So the best thing to do would be to try to like survey either formally or informally what the boundaries are, because there's no tape left anymore. You know, when I went out there, I had the figures in my hand. I did, and I just pasted out, and I realized, holy smokes, this is a much bigger area that the town owns that is that then is demarcated by these posts. So, the first thing would be to sort of get a sense of how much area we have to work with, how much of it we want to use for parking, and then figure out the best way of sorting out how the entrance and exit with the assistance probably of Chief Galvin. This will probably take a little bit. The potential irony is, this isn't a parking lot that's used tons anyway. Everybody tends to park down the street over closer to Crosby.
Right.
That may change if the ownership of that property changes, in which case this will be a major parking area. But right now it's a minor parking area. Anyway, so I guess my sense is that you guys don't have an issue with this. So then before we hold a public hearing, we just don't have a better plan rather than just having Walter out there with a backhoe throwing rocks around.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I'll
So
take-
tonight was more just, hey, are you guys okay with this in theory?
yeah, well, the select board told me that I needed to do this, so I did it.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's fine. If you need, I think to put a bow on it, we probably should have a public hearing, but we're a little premature to set a date. But,
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best course of action, and then no one can come back on us later and say, oh, you guys cooked this up yourselves.
Right. I think once the better plan is
Yeah.
in place, then set the date for the public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, so the next step is just to find out how we go about getting a better plan. Which is all Carolyn's problem now.
I don't
Did
believe
all
this is a conservation commission meeting, and I don't think you have that authority here, sir.
My authority extends over your life in all aspects.
Oh, my gosh.
I am your chair.
Holy smokes. I see how that fiefdom works over there.
Right? Right? He thinks
Yeah.
he's king.
I think I got to take a few notes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, make them sign in blood. That's what you do.
exactly.
No, Carolyn and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Eloise,
Where is
Eh,
the, where is the entrance now?
I guess that it's roughly right around here. You know, because when I pulled in there, you know, and then I started pacing out, I ended up way over here somewhere, and I went, what's going on? So then I walked over here to see if I could see a flag, and I didn't. I saw poison ivy, but no flag. You know, and I realized that this thing isn't the entrance is in the middle. You know, but you wouldn't know that. I mean, the mode area was sort of more like this before. It was like roughly here. And oops, I hate it when that happens. And then, you know, the mode thing is down this way. So, I mean, you know, we don't necessarily need the thing right now unless the other property, you know, becomes unavailable. Anyway, so yeah, it's in the, I mean, you know, I would probably work with Tom to figure out where the best, the first thing to do is to get it surveyed, probably. I don't know how you go about that. I don't know if there's anybody that does surveying for the town or cuts us a deal or.
We can ask. We have a proponent that has come before us
A proponent?
seeking something.
I don't know where you're going with that.
I'm not,
I mean,
I'm wondering.
I wonder if you met with Sue and all and just said, can we come to some mutual agreement as to where this is and flag it? And
I'd rather have somebody who knows what they're doing going in there and flagging it. I mean, Sue's chief concern, which is legitimate, is not having people driving all over
oh yeah,
fields.
Sure. Yep.
But you know, I'm all on board with that. I don't, you know, I want to help her with that. But it's, I mean, really, you know, rather than, you know, a couple of us getting out there with a long tape measure, I'm not a surveyor. Somebody with some expertise should probably put a couple of spikes in the ground, or 4 or 3 anyway.
We gotta see if, there's moss on those rocks. Because if they have green moss, they're worth a lot of money.
Oh, really?
You should know
Moss
that.
or lichen?
Maybe it's lichen.
Yeah, it's
whatever
lichen,
grows
yeah.
after like 50 or 100 years.
yeah.
It grows like a centimeter or a decade or something.
Is that right?
Yeah,
But usually-
lichen grows very slow.
We occasionally have people harvesting them from our stone walls.
Really?
Special rocks.
Well, I'll get
That
out
could
there
help.
with power washer and take care of that right quick.
Well, you could sell them and that would put the money in the Conservation Commission budget, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it may be that if, for instance, one cut is here and one cut's over here, and then we fill this cut in. So it may be just we'll move the rocks around a little bit.
Yep.
So, John, there's a big tree on one side of the entrance. Is it on the downhill side or the uphill side?
I think it's on the uphill side, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
You can-
Right. So that if the entrances were moved to either end, that would take that big tree out of the mix too, as far as sight lines.
I don't think it's the only tree, but yeah, there's more than one tree. So
It's been a while since I've been up there.
yeah, well, honestly, the first time I'd ever actually parked there was 2 or 3 weeks when I parked my car there and check it out. I
Right.
never, because you can't drive a bike on this. They don't want bikes on this thing. So, and if I'm hauling stuff up there, I'm parking one of these others.
Right. You're not carrying it across the field.
No.
Well, we have John at our meeting. Can we get him to tell us if the Concom has a plan for what to do next after the town meeting on the wetlands bylaw?
Yeah, yes, and the answer is nothing. There is no plan. There's no plan. There's no plan. We have to wait on that one for a while.
I've been talking to some of the persons who were kind of instrumental in opposing it. And was wondering if they might make a proposal to you guys. Is that
That would
something?
be fabulous.
I'd listen to it. For sure, we would listen to it for sure. You know, frankly, Jay, I don't think it was defeated because of what it stated. I think it was defeated because of two reasons. You know, one is that the opposition was better at turning out the vote. And the second is that there's distrust of the Conservation Commission about how, you know, that we will fairly implement any rules and regulations that are passed. This was about trust. It wasn't about content.
But you know what's interesting is that among the people who opposed it, I find there are parts of it that they liked and would support and parts they didn't. And so one of the ideas floating around was maybe if there's something that's much simpler, you just take a baby step first. You can kind of address the initial project problem you guys were after, which was enforcement. And maybe, you know, maybe the no touch zone or something. If you just narrowed it down to some very limited items, all the parties might come into agreement. Because you'd really, even though I agree there was an unequal turnout of supporters and opponents, if there were a way to get that group of people, you know, find a bipartisan solution that maybe is more limited, but could be supported by both groups, maybe it would fly.
That's fine with me. But again, the irony is that you know, it's really the you know, the most significant aspects of the bylaw were the fines, which is the enforcement, and the 25-foot no touch.
Yeah.
The rest of it was less significant. I mean, the vernal pool thing is like, actually, it's nice, but it really doesn't carry that much weight, given that Berlin's not that big anyway.
But it
So if
wasn't
we had-
marketed that way by
Right.
some people.
Right, but I mean, it really's not a big thing, and you know, a
Yeah.
lot of the other stuff was obscure. You know, the 53Gs,
If we had,
holding hearing things. I mean,
yeah, if our
Just
bylaw
narrow it.
only had very limited differences from the State Wetlands Act, would it still be possible to have the town able to enforce the state regulations? Because that's one of the problems, right? Is the state's lacking enforcement capability?
yeah. What's Hoffman brought that up? Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure that's ever been done, where you basically sue somebody independent of the DEP.
Yeah.
I'd want to do a lot of research before I would entertain that idea.
Okay.
Um,
You know, the difference about that would be the local Concom would have the ability to enforce the state rules, which are hard for anybody to argue against because they already are there and technically they can already be enforced. So it's like a baby step, right?
Yeah, except that the DEP is supposed to, so basically, you know, your legal case would be that you'd first have to claim the DEP is not effective in court because they're supposed to be the intermediary. So you'd have to make that case in court, which I think the DEP would not be.
Might have an issue with. Right, well, and one of the things that we were quote unquote accused of was trying to take that power away from the DEP, which what you're suggesting, Jay, actually would do that. And
Yeah, I suppose it would.
certainly not what we were trying to do.
Although, did you notice that one of the seemed to be more effective objections was you're asking us to vote for the bylaw, but then the regs, which you've said are much more comprehensive, we don't get to vote on those. Those go to the select board. But remember someone bringing
Yeah, I remember that. Bringing that up is a little bit like putting bamboo under my fingernails.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, so like if somebody, they're saying all this, these regulations, what, if they had wanted to see what a town bylaw regulation would be, all they had to do was Google it. There's over 200 of them out there, including a dozen from people right around us. The problem is you go on that website, you look at the document and it's long and it's complicated, you know? And so it's just as easy to take that information out of context as anything. Those people, to interpret those documents, they're still going to have to rely on the Conservation Commission, people like Carolyn and myself, you know, to say that, well, this is what it means and this is how it is different from the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations. And that gets back to the issue of trusting the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
So that was it was just a completely spurious argument. You know, if I had spent the 20 to 40 hours a priori to write up some regulations, they could as easily be taken out of context as the stuff that I did write up for the wetland bylaw. You know, this stuff it's not an easy read. You know,
Right.
it's not an easy read. Your eyes start to become unfocused pretty quickly. So it's going to be subject to the same thing. So no, I don't. Anyway, thanks for putting the bamboo under my fingers, Jay. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna go curl up under a blanket in the corner now. Thanks, Jay.
Well, if you keep exposing yourself to painful things, eventually you become immune to them.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I again, if some citizen wants to do a petition to have the wetland bylaw, another one that's pared down to those two things, I'm fine with that, because those actually are the most more important things, most important things.
Yeah. Well, I would like him. I'm encouraging him to write something up and then sit down with you guys.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
See if you can
I'm
come
fine
up
with
with
that.
something you'd agree.
But then they'd
are
have
they
they'd
gonna
have to
write the
hold.
regulations?
No, I don't know
about the next level of detail.
No. I'm not going to do the regulations till after the bylaws pass because it's too much work.
Because the interesting thing is that I think there's a shared objective of trying to be more able to manage unwanted activity in the town, but we just didn't get there. So it seems like we should keep at it.
Again, I'm fine, but they'd have to hold up a part of the bargain and stand up there in front of the town and say, "Now I support this."
Yeah, well, maybe they would. I don't know.
Instead of like whispering and
Right.
before the meeting and running around telling people how terrible this is and how their lives are going to come to an end.
You got a great turnout at the town meeting as a result. We only had 75 the first day. We had 300 the second.
Yeah, I noticed.
And we only lost by 17 votes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, and about 150 people left after the vote.
Yep. Literally.
Anyway, guys, you guys are great. Thanks very much. I'm hungry and I still have to drive home. Carol and I will figure out the next steps and then we'll just plug away at it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for allowing me to join. I appreciate it very much. And thank you for keeping an eye on Carolyn. Don't give her too big a leash. Dangerous.
Well, now that I got your tricks, I can.
Darn you, John.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. So I assume Seth has popped on and off
Oh, you did? Okay.
over the
Yeah.
past hour. He's currently not on at the moment. Mark is here and I don't know if he's here as a representative. I don't know if we need a representative in order to carry on. Right?
I don't think we need a representative unless we have a question. I know Tim had forwarded the draft decision to them and then they responded.
That I did read.
They responded with some plan title corrections, which were minor in nature. Did you have any objections to what they had corrected, Tim?
No, that was what I was looking for, because I was having a hard time picking off the information from the computer as to what those title pages were.
Sure.
I think I've noted the fact that we got the letter from the fire department. I think we should include Mitchell's emails to that list of documents as well. Those are the only other written comments we got, right?
Correct.
So I think that there's Seth back now.
Yeah.
I think the objective should be to list. So I'll make a mention of that as well.
What was the final decision on sprinklers in the 2 initial houses?
So in the initial houses, they've agreed to include them.
Right.
And
Okay, so that's what
so
your decision says.
we, Tom said, why don't we mention that? So I mentioned that in the latest draft. And then we stipulated that any future units would, like the fire department suggested, would also be sprinkled.
And any future units, the 2 that are proposed currently would go toward affordable numbers.
Yeah, the project has to be, it's one parcel, but essentially it's one plan for one subdivision, and any future units along with these have to be counted as the number that leads us to the 5.
Right.
And then the tipping point for inclusionary zoning.
So somebody want to make a proposal about this? Because the hearing's been closed. So it's now to take action on the decision that was written by Tim.
I make a motion that we accept the most recent iteration of Tim's written decision.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept or to vote on the decision that Tim has drafted. Is there any further discussion from any of the board members?
I don't know as I do, but let me just check here. Because we're up to date on the book and page. We've got Seth's comments about the pages, so we got all those details. I'll add the provision about Mitchell's emails. I think that's it.
The fire department's comments.
Yeah, I've got that mentioned in there.
That sound good?
Sounds good.
Any further discussion from board members? No? Anybody in the audience have a hand up for a comment?
Nope.
Okay. Then I will ask us to vote on the motion to accept the decision as written by Tim with those minor modifications that he's mentioned.
Let me
Jake,
ask one question though before. So I've said consultation with the highway superintendent will be required if it is determined that a drainage line runs from the catch basin located on the opposite side of Highland Street from the proposed subdivision road into the proponent's property. That just says they'll talk. So I think what Seth said to us last time was the stormwater management calculations would have to be completely redone, and because there wouldn't be capacity with the system that's proposed to accept any additional runoff from that catch basin. If indeed it runs under the road and into the property, I think I've left this vague enough so nothing would have to be done by the proponent. But we didn't agree that anything would be done other than, they'd look at the broken drainage pipe that's located to the left side of the road. I think no one really is clear as to where that comes from and where it goes.
Nor do we know that it's not functioning. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
the picture, it certainly seemed like, especially by the way the vegetation was growing around it, that it isn't super active.
right.
If it is functioning, it's not highly functioning. But if they do discover that the catch basin is draining somehow over there, they can't just close that off.
No, but I think what Seth's saying is that the capacity isn't there within the system they designed to.
Well, if it currently is cut and flows onto the property and gets absorbed through the ground,
just continue to do that.
absolutely, why not? Because right now, Seth's proposal has catch basins and whatever for the new road.
Yep.
And capacity in there, and it's probably built with some buffer in there just in case for some extra capacity if we find that it's cascading down the not the road, but the field there. I think that we're trying to legislate something that may not exist, or may not be a problem.
Sure. And certainly not looking to add extra work.
Right.
But at the same time, what we don't want is for them to find out that it is draining onto the property and that the project will change how that functions now, and for everybody to throw their hands up and say, well, not my problem. So my concern is that the work being proposed, if the work being proposed changes the way that catch basin is functioning now, it's going to be somebody's problem. And do we have the opportunity right now to decide whose problem that is or how that gets resolved?
I'm uncomfortable with trying to figure out something that may not be, a problem. For instance, if they have, a catch basin that fills up with leaves and they determine that, well, it's not really on the side of the road, it's more in the, it's not in the taking, it's, in the proponent's property, and they had no idea that it was there. Why does that all of a sudden become their responsibility if it hasn't been maintained for 25 years or what have you? You know what I'm saying? I think
yeah.
we're trying to solve an argument that may not even be there.
Right. And if the work, again, my concern is if the work changes the way anything's functioning now, not it really related to the work that's being done.
But it's on the opposite side of the road, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we don't know whether it drains onto that property or not. That's the problem.
And if it does, where does it drain? If it's 20 feet away from where the work is being done, then there's not going to be any issue related to the work.
Right.
But if it drains directly into the middle of the proposed road, there may end up being an issue.
Yeah, I mean, the highway superintendent, when he looked at it, indicated that his belief was that there is a pipe that exits the culvert and the basin, and that it goes under the road, under Highland toward this property. So he just said, I don't know what, he was not familiar with what happens to it when it leaves that site, and whether that's even functional anymore. I mean, it probably an old installation. So like you say, Tom, it may very well be non-functional, and it may just be catching water. And I think a couple people have suggested that it does fill up and overflow on occasion, and then over time it drains into the soil and dissipates. So, but if it does go under the road, and it does have some, I don't know if there's a sump or something on the other side, a pit that just has pipe going into it with stone or something like that. If that's discovered, it probably ought to be maintained.
Right, or address. I mean, I think it's more, is there some way that we can put language saying that if something is discovered, they don't need to go looking for it, they don't need to, but if in the course of the work, something is discovered, it needs to be brought to someone's attention.
Well, you have language there now, right? With the consultation of the highway superintendent?
Yeah. I said consultation with highway superintendent will be required if it is determined that the drainage line runs from the catch basin located on the opposite side of Highland from the proposed subdivision into the proponent's property. So, if we're
Pretty broad brush.
that's enough, that's fine.
Right, but a consultation and a resolution are not necessarily the same thing. We
Right,
want to
all this
put
says-
a mutually agreed resolution, something to that effect.
Well, if you go down that road and it's not mutually agreed, what resolution is there? So, I mean, if we're going to jump off that cliff, make sure we all have parachutes, because we want to make sure it gets tidied up.
Right.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of that. I think we're
Right.
just
So,
creating a big problem for ourselves.
okay, so they start digging it up. They find out the basin drains into right there. And there's a gravel pit that it's been draining into all these years, and it's functioning just fine the way it is.
You want to
But-
simply say that whatever structures or means of dealing with any drainage that might come under the road will be maintained?
Sure. That's fine. Just something to make sure that what's working now continues to work.
It's not interrupted if it exists.
Correct.
That'd be fine with me. I mean, that's just basic. That's not asking them to integrate their
Right.
system
No,
into
Yeah.
this and blowing their plan out of the water. It just says if there's some mechanism that's there.
if
Well, that's
something is
fine.
discovered
It-
and it's functioning,
Yep, so just don't dig too deep.
yep, I'm fine with that. Just something to make sure we're not creating a problem that then is nobody's problem.
Right, okay.
Right.
What do you think, Tom?
I'm fine with that. Are you gonna wordsmith something now, Tim, or are you gonna take another crack at this?
Let me see if I can figure out something.
Okay.
So any structures related to this drainage line will be maintained by the proponent in their current condition. Does that say what we want?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion to this? Any questions? Okay, any questions from the audience?
Does not appear to be.
Okay. So we have a motion with an amendment to modify some language that we are now in agreement that we like. And there's a second to it. And we've had our discussions. So at this time, I will ask you to vote on the decision that Tim has written with that one minor modification and a reference to add to emails from the Mitchells. Jay Teach,
I,
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. We voted to accept this subdivision unanimously. Thank you all.
And this is a technical question, not of substance. I listed all of us as attending the hearing, but I didn't reflect on the minutes to determine whether that was actually the case.
no,
So I'll
I
look at,
wasn't at the last meeting and Janet's
But
not.
you can review the video.
right,
Oh, and I did all 3 hours of it.
that's right. So
So you technically can vote.
the four of us can vote. Should I just strike Janet's name from that to make this simple? It's still a majority, and I'm not sure she was in attendance at all those anyway.
If her name is on there and she doesn't sign it, what's the difference?
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, I don't care if you strike it, but if it's already written,
Well, I mean, I gotta
I
do
know
a
you
new
rewrite
draft.
it.
and I'll take her off.
okay. That's the cleanest, is to take her off.
Okay.
Super, thank you. That's all that we have on the agenda. Is there-
Really?
I'm sorry. Is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up as a timely item?
No, the damn rain is gone. It's not gonna happen.
Oh, I thought
Oh.
it was. It was going to rain like crazy tonight.
I know I just looked at the radar and it's just blowing up. It's not doing anything west of us all the way down into, you gotta go way out to beyond Ithaca practically to find anything. There's north of us, but
And we ran around like crazy people trying to get our hay in before it started raining today.
that's what we did. I unloaded a ton of hay this morning and then we planted corn like crazy and pumpkins and squash and put
You know
everything
what you
up.
need at your farm, Tim? You need some really nice compost.
What do you got?
About 1,000 yards.
Horse manure?
Well, it's mostly a mix. It's a perfect mix of
No.
shavings representing carbon and hay representing nitrogen.
I have
A little
trouble
bit
with
of horse manure
horse
for bacteria.
horse dung. If they had 3 stomachs like a cow and ruminated enough so they really broke stuff down, it'd be one thing. But
Well, but
Unless-
this isn't really, the manure content is not that high. It's mostly shavings and hay and grass. 5 carbon to 1 nitrogen. It's perfect.
and you've been turning it and you've had it at 139 degrees.
We measure it every day.
You stick your hand in. Is that what you do? And
Yeah.
count.
It steams all winter.
At Sturbridge, the women used to stick their hand in the beehive oven and count a certain number, and then they'd know the temperature was ready for pie.
Yep.
But the thing that happened, of course, was as you grew older, your tolerance for heat. So some of the older women, God, could they burn stuff up? Oh, man. I'm not sure that your hand test in your manure pile is legit. you know?
We do a steam test with binoculars. But
Yep, yep,
way we're
she's
going now-
steaming.
where we're going now, every year I have Mike Sawyer come up with his D6, and push the pile up a little higher.
Yeah.
So pretty soon, you're going to be able to see directly to Mount Pisgah, and probably there are going to be more people in our parking area than the Mount Pisgah parking area, because we're going
There you go.
Well, we could make a trail.
So do you deliver or what happens?
I've got so much of it, and it's beautifully fermented. It's been there for like 12 years.
Yeah.
And I was going to spread it. I bought 2 spreaders. I went to Pennsylvania, bought 2 big manure spreaders. I got 2 tractors. We started spreading it. And there's some rocks, because when we push it up into a pile, we pick up rocks out of the below, and it spits them at the back window of the tractor at about 100 miles an hour.
Nice.
Well, when we were doing business with Landscape Depot, they had acres of compost on the pit where the solar is.
Oh, really?
And they'd end up delivering that. Their rent was paid through compost. So they'd bring, 16 wheelers and just dump tons of compost, and then we'd spread it. And I don't have a cab, and I don't have a window. So when those rocks came, they didn't smash glass. They hit my head.
So they had compost. They had rocks in their compost too, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, it was municipal leaves, so they were picking up, But the rocks would be, they'd come by your head. You'd think, oh my God.
That's exactly.
I could lend you my turning head shield, helmet.
Yeah.
Got a full face shield and everything.
I need some from the back.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever try screening it?
Well, they screened it.
Yeah.
They had one of those big tubular screens.
Oh, a trommel.
Yeah.
Trommel screener.
They had a huge one.
Those are like $250,000.
It was like it was a trailer truck body, and they brought it to the site. They brought it here to the farm, actually, because we had to move a lot of material off, and then they screened it here. But they still ended up with material, stones, big stones going through. Oh.
Well, I'm kind of stumped now because I don't know how to screen it because it's so wet.
Well,
No.
I'll pass.
You could, I don't know how much of a dent it would make, but you could put a post on Berlin Neighbors Connect, free compost, come get it.
The problem is people do show up with a pickup truck or less, and you got to get the excavator down or something down to load it, and
Right.
we have 1,000 yards or something to get rid of. And I'd love to put it on our fields because it'd be great fertilizer. It's just the rocks are a problem. The horses don't like rocks.
If someone wants to dump wood chips on a piece of property that I own and compost them, do I have to go back to the state and get my compost license again? I'm asking the Board of Health. I mean, the Conservation Commission here.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We don't do anything with compost licensing.
So if I just do
Only
it,
if it's near a wetland, would we
Mhm.
have anything to do with it?
yeah, no
Right to
wetlands,
farm.
What'd you say, Tom?
I said, I think it's right to farm.
right to farm. Yeah, don't tread
Yeah.
on me.
I tried to
That's
get a
it.
grant from those people last year, and they turned me down because I didn't say I was a full-time composter. But the other people that got grants aren't full-time composters either.
We had a license years ago when we were doing the leaves from Landscape Depot, but it was a big operation. It was acres. So, and we maintained that license annually for quite a while, but I've let that lapse.
But the guy over in Northborough, he can compost turkeys and get away with it.
Is
Oh,
that right?
yeah.
He's shut down, I believe. Is that true?
I have
I
no
thought I
idea.
saw that the property was for sale.
Is this Anza?
Well, he's
I couldn't
probably-
come up with his name.
But everybody's saying he's trying to buy a piece of property in Berlin.
Really?
He's always getting in trouble.
Do you know which piece of property?
Where do you live now?
You know where I live.
No, it was like, Tom Brady was going to move here too. It's one of those deals, right? Well, good. Now, do we meet again in June?
We can, his meeting for, the next meeting would be 6/22. So in the past, what we've done is we've decided whether we want to meet another time in June and then once in July, once in August, depending on our workload and what have you. I mean, right now I have nothing for the next agenda, but usually within, next week, we usually get one or two people that pop up, but we can always push them off to July if people want to say they've had enough.
Well, we got to get caught up on the minutes, so why add an
Right.
extra meeting?
Does that mean, Tim, you're going to volunteer to watch some of those videos and take some notes?
I pulled up your email and made sure that I have access to those minutes that you've already done, and
Yep.
I'll probably start tonight, And if we don't meet in 2 weeks, I'll just dedicate that 2 hours to doing minutes,
I was thinking it was going to be a few hours, and then there's one night and another night and another night.
I know I find like right now I'm 2 meetings behind on Community Preservation Act. And it's just harder and harder every
Well,
meeting you
you're
let
right.
go by.
My
Yep.
advice is whenever there's a vote, record it. Who was there, record it.
Yeah.
And when you opened and when you closed. And then use Charlie Yeager's blah, blah, blah. Right, Tom?
That's
Well,
right.
I think if I get kind of the key points and do the index I was telling you about, then we're sitting around the meeting going, didn't we talk about that? What did we decide? I could just look through the index and find it.
Well, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
point. I mean, we don't take that many votes. So
Yeah.
as long as you've got that recorded and you've got it indexed, and then you could just outline the topics. We talked about these 3 other things. We talked about, like tonight we talked about we didn't act, but we talked about the parking issue on Linden. We talked about the
Reappointed Anna Crane.
yep,
Yeah.
just bang, bang, bang.
True.
Less is more.
I think you're right.
Especially
And-
where the videos are available
And
to
the
the
videos are
public.
available, yeah. And sometimes you say things in minutes that come back to haunt you later, you think, whoa, why did I say that?
Yeah, I can see that.
So,
See, it would be cool. I don't know how the person did it, but the one video I looked at that had like a timeline underneath it with key points.
Hmm.
The point when you talked about each topic was kind of on the timeline. You could slide over to that. That'd be kind of cool. But I don't know how to do that.
what town was that?
I don't remember. It came up. I was looking for, it must begin with a B because it came up when I was looking for Berlin.
So there is a timeline though.
On a YouTube video, how at the bottom, you can drag the marker
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
But this one had like points of interest noted.
Huh.
Right? It's like when you do a
Mhm.
PDF document, you can put, what are they called, titles or something else.
Right.
You can
I
index.
believe that would be you.
Yeah.
Vote taken at, and then you watch the video and you mark the time and.
Too ambitious.
That's a lot of dedication.
Yeah. The best minutes I saw, well, not the best, but some of the great ones I saw were for the Earthworks Committee. Mike
They were
Sawyer's
great
coming out,
in what manner?
just very neat and detailed. And, I thought Earthworks, it was going to be kind of like scribbles on a back of an envelope, right? Just
Right, isn't that
It's
Sue?
about dirt, right? We're talking about dirt.
Right.
Why do we need to get fancy with the minutes? But the minutes are great.
I think Sue from the Board of Health is also on Earthworks. And I
Vergara?
bet,
Someone else.
yeah,
Yeah.
really.
Huh, good. I move that we adjourn.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 9:01 PM. Any further discussion?
See you in
Seeing none.
July.
oh, wait, right, so did
Are
we
we doing
decide,
Zoom?
did we decide we're not gonna have another meeting this month?
Yeah, I'm reading minutes.
Fine.
Okay.
We'll push it off until July.
I mean, if
So-
something comes up,
Yeah.
give
We
us a
just gotta make
buzz.
sure that we post it in time to have it a legal meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which reminds me, I've got to post the
Oh.
community preservation.
Eloise would like to chime in.
Okay.
When are you gonna have your meeting in July? And I'll do it right now.
I'm looking for it right this second. It would be the 13th.
And then what about August?
August would be the 10th.
Okay,
Oh, Eloise.
what?
Carolyn, the Community Preservation Act was going to meet on the 15th.
I have it right here in my notes. Yes,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Eloise, can we ask you to post that one?
Oh, yeah, what was the date?
August.
No, June 15th.
June 15th at 8.
And what's a quick agenda?
Community Preservation Plan.
Okay. And planning board, I'll just have approve.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, you can update it when it
They
gets
updated it.
to the
Yeah, we
meeting.
did update. I changed it so that there's like a administrative section, which is where all the blah, blah, blah is. And then any
Oh, good.
timely
Yeah,
items.
it's
for
just-
time.
You have to have something on the agenda to start with.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it
Oh, excuse me.
right.
So ours was July what, Tom?
13th and then August 10th.
Correct.
Okay.
Love it.
You know, the other thing we should put in the minutes, which I didn't do, is the date that the initial application is filed on some of these things, so we know when the deadline is. I noticed a lot of the planning boards do that.
Yeah.
If there are milestones with certain dates, they're noted in the minutes, just so we can go back and look to make sure we're
Yep.
not missing something.
Okay.
All right. So
The chairman to figure that one out.
Seth is going to drop the Mylar off at the town hall, evidently, and I'll polish off the decision and
Has to go to the clerk. So the 20-day appeal period can start.
Yeah. So I should be able to get it to her by the end of the week.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
Super.
So how do we know, we'll need to sign the Mylar, right? After the 20 days? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I think that's probably the case, isn't it?
well, usually I am supposed to send out the written decision.
Right.
Right.
But to
Okay,
sign
and
the-
then, so, let's see. So if, say I got it Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 17, 18, 19, 20. So July 1 would be the 20 days.
And then we sign the Mylar.
We need to sign the Mylar after that.
Yeah, to make sure that there's no challenges. But your next meeting
The
is
13th,
the 13th.
right?
So either that or I would put them, whenever I get it, I send it out. Who has the abutters list?
Usually we get physically handed to us, but I don't know if we did.
Yeah, I don't,
Did it come in the digital package from Seth?
We might have.
If it was, if
Well, I
you got it,
need-
Didn't
that's,
see
I
it.
need the abutters list because everybody that's on the abutters list has to get a copy of the decision.
right,
So that once I figure out the 20 days, I will tell you. And then assuming I don't get any challenges, I will put it in the planning board mailbox. And then you can come in individually, you know, if it's too, not close to your meeting, or you can come in.
right. Theoretically, the building's gonna be open on the 15th, correct?
It's open now.
I mean, is it open to the public? Like,
yeah,
Yep.
walk in
Yeah.
anytime
Yep.
woo, I might
So
just
when do
go
we
come
start?
visit.
with a
When do we
mask.
start live meetings again?
It depends on.
That's what they're, I believe the town administrator is checking out because
Right.
you have some problem with some people who put it in the newspaper for a public hearing that it's only Zoom. And so you might have to do hybrid for a while.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with Margaret the other day about hybrids. I mean, whenever I go to these social justice sessions, it continues to talk about the fact that those folks that are left out of the process have taken part with Zoom availability where they weren't before. So a lot of people suspect that the Baker administration may very well propose a hybrid allowance for meetings to continue. And we were talking about these, what's it called, an owl or something like that, that sits in the middle of the table at your live meeting and picks up on who's speaking and puts them on the Zoom screen automatically and brings up, then you'd have they have some big television screens in the meeting room that we usually use now. There's one in there, and they were saying that could be linked up so that, you know, someone that was watching on Zoom would pop up and they'd ask their question, and, you know, it was,
All those things haven't been worked out yet.
yeah, no, but I mean, I think that's maybe where we're heading.
There are times when I like being able to attend a meeting by Zoom because
Yeah.
I'm comfortable at home.
Right.
You're in your pajamas.
Shh, I'm not fine.
Yeah, the whole real pants thing is.
Well, the whole thing is going out and it's snowy or icy and, you know, it's not all bad.
No,
We have
Yep,
to start serving refreshments at our meetings to get people to come.
There
I
you
know.
go.
adult beverages.
Maybe.
Alcohol is
simple
not
and keep
allowed in
picking
a
it up.
public building.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's at first it was wonderful not having to leave home and being able to attend all the meetings right from home. And now it's like, oh my gosh, if I have to attend one more meeting from this spot, I may just scream.
I agree.
So. Did we vote?
we didn't.
I didn't think we did.
Yeah, we didn't vote on adjournment. Now I have to change the time because it says 9:01 in the minutes.
9:10 now.
Oh, man.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford. Aye.